the Holy Spirit is working in ways that you're unaware of, and you might not know for a while. So continuing praying for them, continuing pursuing Jesus. You can't save that person. You cannot set them free from the depths of their sin, but Jesus can.
Rewrite.
New life, new beginning.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Unthank. Welcome to another edition of the Rewrite Podcast. Today, excited to have a new friend, Chevas Phillips. Good to meet you.
I'm glad to be here.
It's the air shake.
Handshake,
Yes,
air shake. We
there
like an air
There we
shake.
go. Man, thanks for coming to Asheville and the Light FM today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah,
yes.
First time meeting each other.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about yourself, because I mean,
Okay.
first of all, the name. You know, we were kind of talking before we started this. I have a crazy last name too. Unthank. What does that even mean? So I've heard a little bit of everything. I'm sure you have heard a little bit of everything when it comes to your first name. Tell me some funny stories real quick.
Okay, so funny story number one about my name. I'm named after a Scotch whiskey. It's called Chevas Regal. So for anybody wondering, is she dead serious? Yes, I am. You can go look it up right now. My dad used to drink it a lot, and my mom liked the way he said it. And so that's literally why they named me that. But besides my name, I am a worship leader at a church, and I'm from Winder, Georgia, right outside of Athens. And I'm at a church called Bethlehem Church. I've been there for 12 years, and I've been saved 12 and a half.
That's awesome.
So the fact that they gave me a microphone at this church 12 years ago says a lot about them and how much they are really want more for you than they do from you. That's one of the things we say all the time. I'm a wife. I've been married 15 years this year, and my husband and I were high school sweethearts. And so we'll get into that in a minute, because that's an interesting story in of itself. I've got 2 kids, 2 girls, 5 and 6 years old, Harlan, Raylan. So yeah, they're not named after liquor. So
So when it comes to, have you always lived in Georgia?
I have.
So Georgia's home.
Georgia's home.
That's cool. So
Yep.
so Southern girl, born and raised. That's cool. And I know you've got such a redemptive story of how God has come into your life, and you've got a song that has just hit radio called "Stories" as well. Oh man, tell me a little bit about your upbringing, and then everything as much as you want to share. Just that brought you to that point of hey, I've got to have Jesus. I've got to have Jesus. And he found you.
Yes, and I'm definitely going to cry, so just be prepared. If you hear me weeping, it's just what I do when I talk about the Lord. So I did not grow up in church. My parents got divorced when I was 2. Both of them got remarried. So I grew up not really knowing, and it's not anybody's fault, but just when you're a step kid, everywhere you go, you kind of feel unwelcome in all your homes, And I met Josh on the bus when I was 12. So if anybody's got a 7th grader and you're like, they're not going to date, you better be careful what you say, okay? Because they might marry that 7th grade little crush. So Josh and I met, and we just stayed friends. We started dating in high school. He could drive and I couldn't. And we just had a lot in common. We were best friends first, started dating, and after high school, we got married, and we did everything backwards. If there was something you could do incorrectly, we did it. Neither one of us grew up in church, and we were on a quest to not become anything like our parents, to be honest. And lo and behold, the things that we did not want to do most, we became. And I would say about 2 years into our marriage, my husband and I were invited to a wild game dinner type thing where Jace Robertson from Duck Dynasty was speaking. And he got saved at that event. And so I remember we were in a room. There was probably like 3,000 people. There was a big church where we're from. And he preached the gospel, and he did an altar call, and so many people went. I remember seeing the altar just flooded, but my husband didn't go down there. So I was just sitting there just, during this response time or whatever. And the next morning I woke up and Josh was sitting in our kitchen, and he was kind of emotional. And he was like, I don't know what I'm even saying. I don't know what this means. He was like, but I prayed last night when Jace did that prayer. I prayed with him, and I'm going to try to follow Jesus. And I remember my first thought was not some holy all thing. I was like, yeah, we're going to see how long this lasts.
Yeah.
And that day he dumped out, there was like a 30-pack of beer in our fridge, and he dumped the whole thing out. And the way that he talked changed, the way that he walked changed, like everything changed. And I struggled with it just because I had been through some things in my life, and I had a problem with an all-knowing, all-seeing, all-present God who, why did I have to go through the things that I went through?
Yeah.
And why would I follow you? Why would I give my life to you? And so my husband, I'll back up for a second, throughout high school and stuff, like Easter, Christmas, he'd be like, let's go to church. And remember, he's the one with the car that could drive. And I liked being with him. So I was like, all right, I'll go. But I remember during worship and stuff, people would be raising their hands and I would just be so uncomfortable. I was like, I got to get out of this room.
Yeah,
like my skin is crawling off my body right now, And I always like to say, like, the presence of God just demands a response. And not responding is a response. And I would get up and leave the room multiple times throughout the years during worship and things like that. And fast forward to when he got saved, he started going to church every single week. And he would always ask me, you want to go? And at first I'd go with him some. And then I was kind of like, it's not really, like, I realized, like, it wasn't going to, he wasn't going to stop going. And I was like, that's not going to become part of my routine. I struggled pretty significantly with alcohol at that time. And just being in the presence of God just made you feel all the things, that it's like there's a sense of freedom in the presence of God that I did not have access to because I was held by the things of the world. And it was about 2 years after he gave his life to Jesus that I surrendered also. And during that time, it was hard fought. Our marriage was, and it was him kind of fighting for it all by himself because I was ready to walk. I was like, I am not going to be barefoot and pregnant waiting on you when you get home, quit my job, church. Like, that's what I didn't know church women, but I knew that I was cut from a different cloth than them. And I had a lot of judgments. And I'm ashamed to say that. That's not something I'm proud of. But it's one of the things that kind of kept me from coming in, where I was just...
So you saw just spiritual battle then from the get-go.
From the very beginning.
But then you're seeing, then in the same case, you're seeing God pursuing you at the same time.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's confusing.
Yeah.
Because when you're sitting there in church, like I remember one time I just remember being in the presence of God during specifically music for me. I mean, even just like during the offering when the lady would play the piano, I would just be so overwhelmed. And I remember one time I started getting emotional and the lady sitting next to me tapped me on the leg and she goes, it's called Midnight Cry. And it's like an old Southern gospel song. And I looked up the lyrics after and it's like about Jesus coming back to get his kids. And I was not even saved. And so I was just, like the Lord was just pulling me in. And my poor husband, he put up with so much stuff for me. That was crazy. He put up with so much stuff for me. He would get in the car after church and he would be like, he would just be riding quiet. And I would be the one that was like, don't ever ask me to go back there ever again.
Yeah.
I will never go back to that place again. Don't even ask. And he's just like, okay,
So your mindset at that point is, guilt, shame, past, all that. Yet you're sitting in a church. And it's amazing to me just to see how God put you in that place, even though you didn't want to be there.
Yes.
And he's just like, just give me a millisecond of your time just to wrap my arms around you.
Yep.
That's so cool.
And I learned, like, in his presence, just a couple of seconds in his presence, I was learning the presence of God. Yeah. And it was getting familiar. And I started recognizing, I didn't have words for it at the time, but I knew what was going on after a while. And so I was like, we're going to take a step back, And my husband would pray for me. I had a music room I'd practice in, and he'd lay his hands on the door when I was in there, and he'd pray for God to set me free. And he was just going after me in prayer. Wow. He would not let me leave. And he was my best friend. At the end of the day, he had encountered this Jesus, and because he did, I was too. But I still couldn't see my life without him. He was still my best friend, even though he's a Jesus freak now. So about 2 years after he gave his life to Jesus, I surrendered my life to Jesus too. So cool. That's a whole story in of itself.
I love that.
It was definitely it was a ride. And then 6 months after that, I got invited to audition for a worship team. I had only ever sang in bars, and I had to kind of stop singing in bars because I got saved. Yeah. Holy Spirit came in, and I knew. I was like, it wasn't even necessarily about the drinking because I still struggled with that. It was more so like I'm around all these men all the time that have no regard for my marriage. They're not married. They don't, and I just started feeling convicted. And I was like, all right, I'll stop. I'll stop going. And so I hadn't sang in months, and I got invited to audition at the church that I would later go on to become a worship leader at.
Yeah. I want to ask you this. Your husband has been there from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What does he mean to you in all of this?
Oh, man, I'm going to cry immediately. Ah.
Because that's huge.
Yes.
That's huge.
Even from the very beginning, like when we first just became friends, he was, like I told you, I grew up in a family that was just divided,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and he was the only constant for me.
Yeah.
And still is.
Yep.
But he's my rock.
Yeah.
And he really is. Like, he's always led our family well. Even when we were heathens, there's nowhere I wouldn't follow him. And he holds me accountable. He parents our kids so well. He's the best dad. And watching him be a dad to our girls has shown me the love that the Father in heaven has for me as his daughter. So I can't say enough good things about him. That doesn't mean I don't want to slap him sometimes. And I know he feels the same way about me. But, I mean, he, you know, I just don't know who I would be. I don't know who I'd be without him.
I think about those that'll be listening to this podcast who may be in that same situation where they have a spouse or a family member that's close, and they're trying to live it out.
Yes.
They're trying day in and day out.
Yes.
And the struggle and the frustration and Lord, what else do I need to do?
Yeah.
You know, what would you say maybe to encourage someone who's listening that's like, hey, don't give up. Don't give up.
Do not give up. There are things going on that you are unaware of as you're praying for your lost spouse, your lost child, your prodigal, whatever it is. There are just things. Like I said, I'd be sitting there just chewing the inside of my lip so hard that I would about start crying. And the Holy Spirit is working in ways that you're unaware of, and you might not know for a while. So continuing praying for them, continuing pursuing Jesus. You can't save that person. You cannot set them free from the depths of their sin, but Jesus can. And I just believe, like with my whole heart, you cannot outrun a praying spouse. You just can't. If you're a spouse and you're praying, I always wondered, like, when I said I did everything backwards, I meant it. Like, I'm the woman and I got saved last. Are we shocked? Most of the time it's the opposite. The woman is like struggling and her husband is just not really for it. And that, you know, and it's like she's struggling with getting him to church and wants to be led by him. But what I can say to the women, if that is the case, you're praying for your husband, the resistance that you see means that the darkness knows it's about to lose. And that's what I have experienced in my own life, and that's what I will believe all the way to the very end. Resistance is a good thing. It means that the battle, when it's in the physical, we're getting somewhere, you know?
That's good. That's good. So you're invited to join a worship team.
Yes. Why did they let me do that?
What was that like? You know, you get in there and, because it's like you're having to learn the music. You're having to, you know, you're a brand new Christian. You know, and you have something in you that you've never had in you before, and you're just like, I got to get it out.
I will never forget. I don't even know that I sang any notes the first 6 months. I just literally would cry. So this is 2015. So like the first Christian song that I had ever really learned and heard, the first hymn was How Great Thou Art. And I was so stressed because I was like, I got to remember these words. I was asked to do it at the church we were at, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to know it good. And I listened to Alan Jackson because I knew he was a country singer and I like country music. I was like, I can learn his version. Then the next thing was How Can It Be? By Lauren Daigle. So this is that era. Yeah. And when I tell y'all I ugly cried on stage in front of God and everybody else through that whole song, I don't even think anybody knew the melody unless they heard it on the radio. because I just couldn't get through it.
You
could not
You didn't
get over
care
it.
at that point. You're
I
just
did
like,
not
it was
care.
you and God.
And they still let me sing. I don't know why they did. I have literally no idea. But I could not get over that he set me free.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't. And I remember being in the room, just starting, I am guilty, and like feeling the presence of God.
Mm-hmm.
That presence that he had been teaching me for 2 years at that point during music. And he's like, this is why I made you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even about singing. It's just to know him and to make him known.
Mm-hmm.
And right now I get a microphone, right? One day I won't, but I'm still going to know him, and I'm going to know how to make him known.
Isn't it amazing how when you step out in whatever your gift, or sometimes on the ledge, because in faith, like you just experienced,
yes,
it was like God just comes right beside you
100%
every time,
every single time.
I love that.
He's affirming, like, hey, this is what I called you to.
Yes.
And that did not make it easy. I was still warring. There were things that had me that weren't supposed to, addictions that and I'm standing up there leading worship, and I'm just like, it's not even guilt and shame. It's like I'm learning how to walk in freedom. I call it the unbecoming. Like when you become a follower of Jesus, sometimes there's just a lot of years. I was 23 when I got saved, and there's just a lot of years. You've got to unbecome some of the things that you thought defined who you were. And then you met your maker, and you're like, oh, so this is wrong. But he's gentle about it, and he's kind about it, and he's persistent, And it's like, it's not even, we don't even do it for reward of like, there's a tangible thing. It's just like, you get him. You get him in a different way. There's a different way I know Jesus because of the things that like he walked with me through all the way into freedom.
So you wrote the song Stories.
I did not write the song Stories.
That's right.
Yes.
You had. Oh, tell me the story behind it, because I heard this a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Remind me of this.
Yes. So we were working on the EP, and we had been writing. We had been kind of listening to some that were already written, changing some things around. And I was like, man, I wish I could write a song like about my story, but not share my story, right? Because sometimes when you share your story, you end up glorifying the enemy more than the Lord. And so I was like, I wish, in the first line that came to my mind, it was the night before we were going up to like put some demos down for this EP, and I was like, I got stories I could tell that would make you wonder how the heck I'm still alive. But the only one worth telling is about how Jesus saved my life. Like, that's just kind of what came. And I was like, that would be dumb. I can't do that. And so I'm just literally having this whole conversation. Well, the next morning I get in the car and I drive from Georgia to Nashville when I go, because the airport's the most awful place on earth. Anyways, so.
Lots of prayer when you
it's
go
just there. Really sanctifying experience. But, I had gotten an email, and it was from the producer, and he was like, hey, I think there might be one in here. And it was like 5 songs. He was like, I think there might be one in here that would finish it off. This is one we need is in this email. And the first one was Stories. And it was, I got stories that I could tell of a Savior. And I just immediately pulled the car over, and I was like ugly crying. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even have anybody I could call at that point. I listened to it 50 times, I bet. At least. And then it got to where like I could call people and be like, have you listened? This is the one. I was so excited about it. So it was written by Ann Wilson, John Smith, and Mia Fields. And I had no notes. I mean, I was just like, there's nothing.
That's
some
me.
Songs, they just come out of heaven. They got to stay like they are. And that was one of them.
That's it, man. It's just close to home because, I mean, I've only heard it a few times. But then it's like after hearing your story and how Jesus has changed you completely.
Yes.
It's like, man, that's your anthem.
That is my anthem.
Yeah.
And it's all I want to tell about, because for years it was like I didn't want to share my story, not necessarily shame. I just had to learn how to do it in a way that honored God. Like not what I was saved from, but what I was saved for. And so like it's been a process to learn that. And that song, the fact that I get to carry it is just such a gift, because that song is the declaration I will make with my life.
So when you sing that song,
I cry every time.
When you sing that song and you see people on the other side in the crowd, what's going through your mind? I love that they are getting words to sing
over their life, over their day, over a moment, because I'm just like, man, I've done it at a women's conference, and they immediately caught it. And I was like, how he saved me. Like, we're going in on it. The enemy comes to steal, kill, destroy. The enemy comes he's the accuser of the brethren. He likes to remind you of all the things you'll never be. But at the end of the day, it's never about the things we'll never be. It's about the one who saved us, the one who went to the cross for us, the one who rose in victory for us. And it's like, I just think about how many women, just in a minute, there's a melody to get you out of a funk. There's a melody in a moment of warfare where you can go, no, wrong day, devil. I remember who I am. And that's one of the reasons that I love it so much.
That fires you up.
Yes.
That's so good.
Immediately.
Part of the Rewrite podcast, I ask every guest is, okay, this moment, first thing that comes to your mind when it comes to who God is to you now. Because he shows himself differently, different phases and seasons of our life. Who is God to you right now?
I would say deliverer.
Yeah.
Protector.
Yeah.
He really does fight for me. A lot of my life, I grew up just kind of having to be my own voice for my own self. And what I have learned, especially recently, is that he does fight for me. He really will vindicate you. You really don't have to tell your side of the story. And he will always take care of his kids. And that has been a foreign experience for me in the past. And so to know him as Father, that is a protector, is what I have learned. And that's sealed. That's sealed on me right now.
There's comfort in that.
There is. And it's just I feel like when you've seen him fight for you or show up in a way that you literally never thought possible, you're like, wait, he really did take care of me through that.
This is Rewrite, Stories of New Life in Jesus. I'm Jonathan Unthank. If you'd like to join a community of listeners who enjoy hearing the life stories of Christian music artists and influencers, then join the Rewrite text group by texting the word Rewrite. That's REWRITE to 81891. But more importantly, if you'd like to dig deeper into your own relationship with Jesus, you can begin that journey today by texting his name, Jesus, to 81891. God bless you. Join me next time for another episode of Rewrite.